There's a story, this, let's say, call this person Ram. Ram is telling his mother, I'm not going to school, teachers bully me, and the students don't like me. So he says, I'm not going to school. The mother asks why. He says, I'll give you two reasons. One is the teachers bully me, and second is that the students don't like me. Then mother says, no, you are going to school, and I'll give you two reasons why you have to go to school. First is, you are 40 years old, and second, you are the principal of the school. You see? So that person's attitude is so negative that his communication is not going to be effective. It reflects on people, Whether you are a salesman or whether you are a customer, you go to buy, you go to speak, etc. And then now some people are generally negative. They look at things in a negative. They give a negative slant to things, One boy was crying on the road saying, I've lost 500 rupee note, I've lost a 500 rupee note. So one nice gentleman like you, like any one of you, kind man, he felt sorry for him, pity for him. He took out 500 rupees and gave him that 500 rupees. Okay. So the boy took that money and he started crying still more. So this man was surprised. He said, you lost 500 rupees, I've given you 500 rupees, why are you crying? So this boy says, if I had not lost that note, I would have two notes of 500 rupees. You see. So these are some attitudes towards things. Well, like similar story, a boy was crying on the road saying, I've lost a 100 rupee note, I've lost a 100 rupee note. A nice elderly gentleman, kind gentleman like our friend here, he said that agreed to give him a 100 rupee note. Oh, you have lost it? Okay, take it, doesn't matter. Okay, it's fine. The boy starts crying more. Then the man asks him, why are you crying and all that? He says, I wish I had said I had lost a 500 rupee note. Okay. Now, what happens when we are negative in attitude? We tend to be negative in our communication also. We pick up things that are missing rather than appreciating things that are there in a communication. Okay? And we are critical about everything that happens. And they say that what goes round comes round. It comes back to you. If I'm negative with you and with you and with you, in my life from somewhere else, that negativity comes, There is a story about this person, about a barber, Ajam. He was very critical, so he would criticize everything. The politician, the city, the administration, the airlines, the hotels, anything you talk about, any subject, he always will pick up negativities about them, talk about that. So one man, his customers was going to Rome to meet the Pope, among the other things. So when he comes back, again goes for a haircut, the barber asks him, how was the trip and all this was fine. And what did the Pope say? Did you meet the Pope? He said, yes. So what did the Pope tell you? You know Pope, right? What did the Pope say? He said, no, Pope placed his hand on my head and then he asked me where I got such a terrible haircut from. So you see how the negativity comes back, okay? So what they say in communication is that you become what you think about all day long. And that gets reflected in your communication. You'll find some people are all the time negative only, or all the time gossiping, or speaking behind people's back, etc. You get... Next important rule of communication is being witty. You know what is being witty? And ingenuity, clever. That requires quick thinking. Okay. Now, a candidate had gone for an interview to a place, and that the interviewer told him, talked to him, he said, what we are looking for is an older boy. Okay. Then after a couple of months, this boy went again. So that person told him, I told you I want an older boy. So this fellow said, that's why I've come. I'm older now. So this is a quick repartee, which will make a communication effective. Okay, you can put your point across better. Okay. Similarly, one person had applied for a job, and he gave a declaration that he's got 5 years experience. Okay, he was taken up the job, etc. After he joined, after he worked for a few days, when they were going through the biodata, etc., they found that this boy is fresh from college. He has not worked anywhere. So they called him and they said, we had said that we want 5 years experience. You stated you got 5 years experience, but we find that you don't have any experience at all. So this boy said, yeah, but your advertisement also said that you wanted somebody with imagination. Okay. So immediately you win the approval of the other person. You are not, what shall I say, you are not taken aback and you don't start floundering. So you need to develop this. For example, they used to have olden days in the kingdom, they used to have a court jester. Yes. Court jester, like an official clown. Yes. Badshah ka, he'll be dressed also like a clown. Jester means a clown, a joker. Okay. So sometimes they would say, like Akbar Birbal would be there, Birbal would say certain things which might be a little offensive to the king. So this happened in one of the kingdoms where the jester went beyond his, what shall I say, beyond the limits. And the king was very much offended by what he said. So the king said that you have to be put to death. There is no alternative, and that is the punishment because you have caused damage and reputation to His Majesty. So you will be put to that. But considering your many years of service, faithful service that you have given, I will give you a choice of how you want to be put to death, or what kind of death you want. And immediately the court jester said, I would like to die of old age. Old age. I would like to die of old age. That means don't do anything to me. I'll die naturally. So that's how he came out of a difficult situation. Ronald Reagan was the president of USA. Yeah. Ronald Reagan was the president of USA. And that time Gorbachev was the premier or president of Russia. So once at a meeting, Ronald Reagan was fond of jokes and all that. Although it doesn't look like it when you see, but it seems that he was fond of jokes. So once he told at one meeting, just before the meeting started, he told Gorbachev that at the summit meeting, that America is the best country. America is the best country because in America, any person can walk into the White House. White House is the president's house. Any person can walk into the White House and tell President Reagan that he is doing a bad job. That means there is so much of freedom and liberty in the USA that any person can walk into the White House, go and meet the President Reagan and tell him that you are doing a bad job. And so this is a joke which Reagan is cracking on himself. So Gorbachev replies by saying, Russia is the best country because a Russian, just as an American can walk into the White House, a Russian can also walk into the White House and tell Reagan that he is doing a bad job. You see the wit and humor about it? And we'll come and we end. We'll come. Humor sets the atmosphere for discussions. People become more free when they talk. They are less uptight about things. Okay. There was a wit displayed by a taxi driver. Taxi driver means those luxurious taxis you get in New York, etc. Now there was this famous professor. He was invited to give a talk. I don't know where it was, in Chicago or Washington DC somewhere. Okay, and he flew in from wherever he had given the last lecture, and then he got into a luxury taxi and he went to Ashish building to give a talk. She's not listening. The professor came to Ashish building to give a talk. It was a huge affair, big crowd audience was there. Before he went in, he was in a bit of a mischievous mood and he was very tired because of travelling and giving lectures. So he told the taxi driver, why don't you go and deliver my lecture? All that you have to do is you have just to read out. Everything is there and you just have to put it on the, display it on the computer and read out. And I'll sit on the last row. So the taxi driver was also the adventure, and nobody had seen the professor in that country. So taxi driver, he said nobody will know it also. So taxi driver also was very adventurous. He said, okay, I'll do that. So the point is, he went and he spoke. The taxi driver spoke and made a good speech, because it was a copied speech, and it was a very good speech. He got a lot of applause and all that. Then there was question hour. So one person asked a question. Now the taxi driver doesn't know anything about the subject, but see his wit. Instead of floundering, etc., the taxi driver said, oh, this question, such a simple question, anybody can answer it. Even my taxi driver who's sitting there in the last row, he can answer it. Come on, can you answer it? So the professor got up and he answered. So what happens, your wit and humor can save you in difficult situations. Okay. I'll give you a couple of quotes for this point. Humor broadens flow and increases depth of communication. Your advertisements are now full of humor, yes, isn't it? And they are also playing with the language. Yes. They are mixing up Hindi and English and no ullu banawing and all sorts of things they are doing. But that humor, the product remains in your mind. So humor broadens the flow and increases depth of communication. Now Edward de Bono, he's a person, lateral thinking, Edward de Bono. He said, humor is by far the most significant activity of the human brain. So what thinking about it, humor is by far the most significant activity of the human brain. There was this person, Norman Cousins. I'll tell you a little bit of a biographical sketch of him. He was a well-known writer and I think a doctor perhaps. He was diagnosed for cancer, and all the cancer specialists, what are they called, oncologists, they said he doesn't have much time to live. It has gone to the advanced stage. This fellow said, I will live and humor will cure me. So what he did, he went to the lending library and got all the CDs and videotapes of all the comic movies. Charlie Chaplin, Buddha Costello, etc. All, so many of them. And every day he was just seeing those things, and laughing and enjoying. After 6 months they found that cancer had disappeared. So he has said that humor, hearty laughter is a way to jog internally without having to go outdoors. It's like jogging. People have to go outdoors to jog. He says, if you can laugh, it is like jogging internally. That is the importance of humor. All these people realize that. Lincoln also said, if I didn't have a sense of humor, I would not be able to live through this crisis. What all thing he went to, Lincoln. Okay. Let's see what I can give more. Yeah. The next thing is, in communication, what is important is not only what you say, not only how you say it also, and the way you put it across. Same thing, if you put it in one way, might offend somebody or might get a negative reply for you, and the same thing put differently might change the situation. For example, in a church, etc., these two priests were there. So one priest is asking his superior, when he's under tension, etc., he's asking, can I smoke while I'm praying? Can I smoke while I'm praying? And the answer was absolutely not. The other one was wiser. He said, can I pray while I'm smoking? And they said, of course you can. The request is the same, smoking and praying. But the first one put the emphasis on smoking. Can I smoke while I pray? So he got a negative reply. How can you do it? It is blasphemous. He was shocked. The second one said, can I pray while I smoke? And Of course you can pray. In the church who will tell you you can't pray. Okay. Then there are delicate ways of putting it. Like a small boy tells his father, Daddy, Daddy, I am afraid the car has got water in the carburetor. So Daddy says, where is the car? And the boy replies, it is in the river. So he has driven the car. He is not telling his father that he has driven. He says, there is water in the carburetor. You know, you are in the Navy, you said? They got something called mate and all that, no? MAT of the ship. Yeah. First mate, second mate. Okay. So, the captain of the ship once wrote in the logbook, they have a logbook in which they write, captain of the ship wrote in the logbook, mate is a person who's holding certain position. First officer is called mate. Mate was drinking today. Mate was drinking or was drunk today. Mate was drunk today. So mate begged of him, no, please don't write that in the log, it will go against me. People will take action against me. The captain says, no, I have to do my duty. The trainee said, no, let it remain that. I have to report the exact truth, etc. The next week, the mate wrote in the logbook now. The captain had written, the mate was drunk today. So the mate wrote, see the clever way he wrote, mate wrote, captain was sober today. You got the point? That means normally he is drunk. Yes. Without saying that, captain was sober today. So this is how you put things, etc. Like a student asked his professor, sir, would you be angry with me for something I did not do? Professor, why should I? Something you have not done. Why should I be angry with that? You are not responsible for what you have done. Then he says, I have not done my homework. You see that? A bit. Yeah. Then the son tells the father, I have saved you 1,000 rupees. Father is happy, said, 1,000 rupees. I said, how? What has happened? He said, you promised me gift of 1,000 rupees if I get a first class. I just wanted to inform you that I failed in my exams. The father has saved 1,000 rupees. So that is lightening the blow, putting things in such a way that you save face for yourself and save unhealthy, or I won't say unhealthy, but save unpleasant reaction from the other person. Next thing in again communication is the way you look at things. They say that you don't look at things as they are, you look at things as you are. See? So the way you see makes a difference. Okay. There was a speaker who was talking against alcoholism. Then he brought two glasses like that. One was of water and one was of alcohol. He put a worm in the glass containing water, and the worm started struggling, swimming, whatever it is, and came out. Okay. Then he took that worm and put him in the glass containing alcohol. You know what happened? Alcohol. The worm instantly died. Okay. So what he was trying to convey is that alcohol is so harmful to an organism. Okay. It can harm your body so much. So now look at this, how people looked at it. When he asked, so what have you learned from this? And the answer was given by that if you drink alcohol, you will never have worms in your stomach. You see that? Okay. Everybody has this view. This is what happens. This is called selective perception. You concentrate only on something, We are very, very selective in our listening also, which we did last time, and in our perception also. For example, on payday, a worker got a paycheck. He got his paycheck. It was 2,000 rupees less than the pay he is entitled to. So he goes and tells the manager that, see what's this? I got a check which is 2,000 rupees less than what is due to me. I am being underpaid. So the manager said, that's okay. Last month you were overpaid 2,000 rupees. So this month we have reduced, we have adjusted it. So this man says, he said, no, I can overlook a mistake once, but you can't make this a habit. So how he's looking at it is, that is how we look at things. Same thing happens when two persons are on a ship again, going on a cruise liner, and it was twin sharing. Arrangement was twin sharing. Two persons in one cabin. Okay. So one person goes up to the captain and says that my roommate's appearance is not good. I feel that he's not an honest person, not a trustworthy person. Therefore, I request you that keep all my valuables in the safe of the ship. The ship has got a safe where they keep. Said, please keep it there. I don't trust my roommate. And the captain said, that's perfectly all right. Sure, I'll do it. Because the other person also has come and told me the same thing. Okay. So, it is all in the eyes of the beholder, how we look at things, etc. A wise man, a sage, or whatever we call in modern language, Guruji, etc. He took out a ring and told the sage to go and sell it. Okay. The chela went there and in the market, and he was getting only a very small price for it, the ring. So he went back to the wise man or to the Guruji and said that there's not much value for this ring. Nobody is willing to buy. They prepare to pay very little for it. Then the wise man says, now you go to a reputed jeweler. So to sell this ring. So this person goes to the jeweler to sell the ring, and he fetches 1,000 pounds or so. Okay. So what it means is, what it's trying to say is that if you wish to value jewels or gems, go to a jeweler, don't go to someone. So your communication also you have to keep in mind to whom you are talking. Are the people capable of valuing what you are saying? Otherwise your communication is a waste. There is no use. As you were telling when we came, that the quality of people who are speaking and the quality of people who are listening also, there should be a match. If there's a mismatch, then some level, yeah. If there's a mismatch, if the audience is very intelligent and very knowledgeable and the speaker is very ordinary, then again communication doesn't take place. And if it's a reverse, then also it becomes not worthwhile. Okay. So actually, again, perception is very important. There was this, Diogenes was a philosopher, and there was Aristippus also was a philosopher, and there was Dionysius, this is a Greek time. Dionysius was the emperor, ruler. Now, Aristippus was living in luxury. He was a philosopher. He was living in luxury because he was keeping the king happy, telling him always good things, praising him, etc. Diogenes used to live a very, very modest life. He used to be alone by himself and lead a very modest life. So Aristippus told Diogenes, now just see the words. He told him, if only you would learn to compliment Dionysus, the king, if only you learn to compliment the king, you will not have to live on lentils or dal. You would not have to live on dal. If only you can just compliment him. Okay. And Diogenes' reply is, if only you can learn, or if only you would learn to live on dal, you will not need to compliment. You see the difference? One man wants luxury and is prepared to sell his soul for that. The other person is keeping his reputation and his self-esteem and That he's not going to beg for food, or he's not going to, what in Bombay language will be, do chamchagiri. What the other fellow was doing was like chamchagiri. This fellow was not. So, the whole point of all these 3-4 examples are, the more diverse our experience, the broader our perspective will be. You're talking about that, no? People, what type of people come? People come of a certain level, high level, people more diverse, having worked, become father, become grandfather, doing community work, etc. So they are richer by experiences, more diverse they are, okay, and the broader the vision become. I'll give you some quotes now. We see what we want to see and we hear what we want to hear. That is one thing fundamental. I told you about that worm and alcohol, etc. We see what we want to see and we hear what you want. You know, it is said about Picasso was a great painter. Yes. Moment he saw number 4 on the board, he was imagining pictures only. He could see pictures because that was all that was there in his mind. Pictures only. Okay. So we see what we want to see and we hear what you... Most of our breakdowns in communication, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, husband, wife, etc. It happens, takes place, even now parents and son, it happens because we hear what we want to hear and we see what we want to see. The same thing seen by, if you take the other person's point of view, you will find that it is different. Okay. So we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Okay. Now, one of the most important things in communication is credibility. You know what is credibility? Credibility means believability. When you speak, you must have credibility. People should believe in you. If you have everything else but no credibility, you can't be a good communicator. You have to have, okay, you can't pretend or you can't fool people. Sooner or later you will get caught out. You know, there is a story of a doctor. He set up his new clinic and when he sitting there in his cabin, some person comes in, knocks and is about to come in. So the doctor picks up the phone is there, and starts talking and give a big lecture, do this, do that, and I'll take this medicine, I will come, etc. for 5 minutes. To stress is important, no? So keep that man standing and talking. Then he puts the phone, and then he says, yes, what's wrong with you, what can I do for you? So that I am from the telephone company, I have come to fix up the telephone. You see, so it becomes a big fiasco for him because he tried to oversmart. Same thing happens if the speaker is hypocritical, you know, hypocrisy. Like there's a couple, they get angry, the maidservant leaves them. And as a parting gift, it's going time, she takes 2 of the best towels and goes away. So the husband says, how can she do that? How dare she do that? And the wife says, yes, can you imagine it? She's taken those 2 towels which we brought from Hotel Hilton last year. See the hypocrisy? The maidservant is taking the 2 towels and say, how can they do? But they have brought it from Taj Mahal Hotel or somewhere else, that they're not feeling that it's wrong. Okay? So, credibility is linked with integrity. Integrity means moral good, wholeness, complete. You have to be, like integer is they say in mathematics, whole and complete. Now, one aspect of integrity, and this is very important, is that you must speak up or you must defend your convictions. Sometimes it becomes necessary. We have many good people in this world who are good, who have got good convictions, but they don't stand for that, you know. And therefore, all the riffraff get into position of power and do whatever they want to do. There's the story of a nurse, you know. She has joined first day in that's any hospital, Lilavati or Hinduja or Bombay Hospital. You know, when they operate, the surgeons, there's something that, what do they call that? Sponge, etc., you know. When they open up the body and then they use that, you know. Cotton. Yeah, they use that to clean it. And then when the operation is over, when they stitch up, etc., they take all that out. Now,
nothing gets left behind.
nothing should get left behind. They count. The surgeon counts and the head nurse counts. So that use 12, when they take out, all 12 should be there. So here it happened that only 11 came out. They used 12. So surgeon said, stitch them up. The nurse had said, no. She said, there were 12 sponges. And now there are only 11. There's one more. So tells the doctor, and the doctor says, I'm telling you, I'm the surgeon, that I've put only 11, I've taken out everything, there's nothing. But the head nurse says, no, I know it, I counted myself that we have put 12. And she wins the point. And surgeon agrees. He said, I was testing you, well done, you stood up to your conviction, you'll be an asset anywhere you go in it. So that's also important. To stand up for the truth is very important. You know, like when Gandhiji stood up for the truth, then there's no limit to what you achieve. You know, he had the courage. He never thought, or Jawaharlal Nehru didn't think about my wife, what will happen, my wife will become a widow or my child will become. There are certain things which are so important that you have to stand up for that. For that nurse, that was the most important thing. And she was not afraid of the surgeon also. Okay. So the rule is, no matter what else you do well, if your listeners think you don't have credibility, you are going to lose. So credibility is so important. Otherwise you may do other things very well, but if that honesty is not there, that credibility is not there, the communication will not land properly. Okay. Next point in communication is one has to be specific. Okay, it is important to be specific. Okay. Now there is a story, I think Gautam Buddha was telling this story. There was a soldier who was wounded. In a skirmish he was wounded. We have time, no? He was wounded, and he says, the soldier was asking questions like all insignificant details. Who shot me? Where was he standing? From what angle? What was he looking like? Okay, in which hand did he have the gun, etc., etc. By the time he asked these questions and got answers, he died. Okay, so in communication, this is what happens, that you don't get to the point which you want to make, and your time is over. You are talking about so many other things, quite insignificant. Have you seen people when they talk, they don't come to the point. They keep on dragging and they keep on saying other things. I mean, I have told many people that, but exactly what you want to tell me, tell me. Why are you telling me all these things, you know? Tell me. If I ask you why you have come late, you say, I got up at 6 o'clock, normally I get up at 5:30, but today I had a headache, so I slept a little longer, and then the hot water was not there, and then the maid servant did not come. I don't want to know all that. I really just want to know why you have not come on time. That's all. Okay. Yeah, I got late getting out, or the train was late, or something like that. Okay. So that's important. So the rule in communication here is that you don't tell irrelevant things, insignificant things. If I can put it in 3 words, it is focus on the essence. What is essential? Focus on that. In your communication, focus on the essential things. Okay. Next is, you must be clear about your objectives and you must speak to achieve your objectives. Why are you talking? What is the purpose of your talking? See, there was a story of the salesman who was selling comb. Okay. And he talked about the comb can withstand any amount of rough handling. You can bend it, you can twist it, you can do this with it, it is this, it is that. Finally, one listener got fed up and he interrupted and said, can you comb your hair with the comb? You see, so that was this salesman was not speaking to the point. Yeah? So in your communication to be effective, focus on the essence and speak to the point, keep to the point. We get carried away. But that's mainly because our thinking is not clear and we don't decide beforehand what our objective is, what we are going to achieve by this communication. Then following this, I'll give you one quotation by Ralph Smedley. He says, a speech without a specific purpose. These two examples I gave you, there was no specific purpose, no objective was there. So he says, a speech without a specific purpose is like a journey without a destination. Just like roaming around, not having a destination. Next rule of communication is be brief. Nobody likes a long-winded person. Curb verbosity. The man who was famous for using less words, there was the President of America, Calvin Coolidge. You have not heard that name? He never spoke even one word that was not necessary. He hardly ever spoke. When he was a governor of a state, he should leave office by 5 o'clock. The governor of a neighboring state told me, Calvin Coolidge, your state is bigger than mine, your governor's post is more busy, there's more work to be done, and you are able to leave every day at 5 o'clock, and I am not able to leave before 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. How is it? Calvin Coolidge only said, because you talk. He never would talk, he would listen to people complain and do whatever he wanted to do, hardly would ever talk. Now one socialite took a bet with her father that I will, in a social gathering, that I will make Calvin Coolidge speak more than 3 words. Just 3 words. Huh? So at the party, the function is going on, she goes up to Calvin Coolidge and says, I've taken a bet with my father that I will make you speak more than 3 words. And you know what Calvin Coolidge replied? You lose. Just 2 words. You lose. That's all. Okay. So that is one of the most, Jefferson said, the most valuable of all talents is that of never using 2 words when one will be enough. Okay. And another person has said, true eloquence consists in saying all that is necessary and nothing else. Only all that is necessary. Okay. Now, along with this, being brief, being specific and not using more words than necessary, speaking to the point, having objective, you should also remember one more principle. You must be comprehensive. You must cover everything in the communication. Otherwise you can be brief, I can stop now and say I was brief. I finish in half an hour, 1 hour talk. But then I have not covered everything. Okay. So you have to cover everything. Pay attention to little details also. Okay. There is a story of people who, when they climb high peaks like Everest and others, they take their flag and put it the country's flag, etc. The story of these 2 mountaineers who prepared very well to climb that, and a lot of preparation is required. The climatic conditions are different and all sorts of things. So they packed everything and they reached, after great struggle, they reached the top. And then first person asking the second person, now take out the flag and let us hoist it there. The second one, the flag, I thought you are bringing it. So you see, they did not pay attention to an important detail. They took so much care to make a trip up there. It was successful, but the purpose was not served because they did not take care, that they were not comprehensive in their thinking. The next principle of effective communication is always keep the listener in mind. What is it for him, not what you are going to. As a salesman, don't sell what product you got. Let him buy what he wants. Let him buy what he wants. Okay. So focus on the selling benefits. What benefits the customer will get. Benefits and solutions. Eastman, this camera, Kodak and all that. Eastman was the founder of Kodak. He one day called his top officers, executives of the company and said, what are we selling? Yeah. So some people said picture, somebody said goodness, somebody said camera. Eastman says, no, you are all wrong. We are selling memories. To the customer, to the person who buys camera, he is not interested in your features and all that. He is interested in what he is going to get. What he is going to get is memories. Nowadays you get everything on the Facebook or you get everything on the video and computer. Otherwise it was always in the album. Isn't it? I'm sure your wedding photos will be in album only, no? Same with minors. Okay. So the focus should be always on customer's benefit. Okay. So people don't buy your product or features, they buy benefits. How it will benefit. I know I was in a bank, I could convince so many people to open an account just because I told them what they will get. I remember one gentleman like you came and told me he showed me his financial state. He just retired, so much money is there, what should do? So I explained to him in the best possible way I've got. So I told him you have to put some money in PPF also, go for insurance also, and those days mutual fund was not so much in me, but the mutual. And after doing all that, whatever money is left, then you can think of having in bank. So diversify, put in bank. And if you think of bank, look, my bank is the biggest bank, is the best bank, so you can consider. He was so happy, he put much more money than I told him to put in the bank. Because he said that I've first time met a banker who's interested in the customer's interest. You see, I'm interested, that is my job, to guide that person, to tell him, and not to sell what I'm selling. Tell him what is available to him. What is available for him. Then he can decide what to do. Okay. So focus on customers. That was in a stockbroker's company. One client had gone, and this person was talking. From that cabin, you could see, the garage downstairs. The cars were packed, like in the building parking lot. And so this fellow was telling, yeah, our company is this, our company. See that car, that Merc is belonging to our managing director. Ferrari is belonging to our chairman, and that BMW is belonging to our general manager. So this man asked, he's a customer, no? He said, where is the client's car? Show me what the client is getting benefit, not what benefit your executives are getting. Okay. So you must, in communication, you must keep the listener in mind and shift your focus to the benefit of that person. Disraeli and Gladstone were two leading statesmen of that time, and both of them were very, very charming people. Both of them were very good at talking. They had very good conversational skills. Now, they were eminent statesmen. The one lady, as part of her duty, had to went for dinner one day with Disraeli and the next day with Gladstone. And then people asked her, what did you feel about these two persons? You see? She said, the first day when I went with Gladstone, I thought Gladstone was the cleverest man in England. He was talking so well, full of humor, and a lot of knowledge. Some people are very good conversationalists, they can talk on any topic, etc. So I thought Gladstone was the cleverest man in England. But after sitting the next day next to Disraeli, I thought I was the cleverest woman in England. Why? Because Disraeli had this knack of making the other person the center of his universe. So that is important in communication. Give importance to that person to whom you are talking. And don't keep on I, talking only about yourself. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. Nobody likes to listen to that. Everybody likes to, So Disraeli made that woman feel that she is clever. Whereas Gladstone made that woman feel that Gladstone is clever. Okay. So that is the importance of that. Okay. That is, I'll tell you with Dale Carnegie, all of you have heard Dale Carnegie's name. He also said once about keeping the interest of the other person in mind. He said that, tell me when there are 10 minutes more, about 10-15 minutes more? 15 minutes, okay. Because that's one principle I follow, never to exceed my time. So what was that? So Dale Carnegie said that talking about the same thing, the interest of, I love strawberries very much, and I eat them whenever I can. I love strawberries very much, and I eat them as much as I can whenever I can. But whenever I go fishing, in my hook, I put a bait, I put worms as bait. Why? Because fish like worms, they don't like strawberries. You got the point, no? Giving the other person what he wants and not what you like. It's very surprising. You'll find salesmen doing that also. They try to sell what they want to sell. Okay. And some people are cheat also. They will. I know people who guide you in mutual funds and other things. Financial planners also. They will recommend a scheme, okay, in which they will get more percentage and not what will be beneficial for you. Now, can anybody trust somebody like that? The whole credibility is lost, isn't it? So you have to keep it. Now, witty retorts, tit for tat, that's the best part of communication. I'll give you 3-4 examples, I got many, but for example, when Abraham Lincoln was the President of America, one day his Secretary of State, Stanton, was a very brilliant person and Lincoln respected him a lot. He entered Lincoln's private room with some work and he saw Lincoln was polishing his shoes. And he was shocked. He said, Mr. President, you polish your own shoes? And President said, yes, whose shoes do you polish? See, the witty reply. Now, immediately he takes care of the situation. When Churchill was the Prime Minister of England, there was this great writer, George Bernard Shaw, yeah, and he used to make plays, and his plays were so popular that you could not get tickets, So he and Churchill used to always have a repartee fight. So he one day sent 2 tickets to Churchill for the premiere show of his play. And he said, I'm sending you 2 tickets for the first day show. Please come with a friend of yours, if you have a friend. Insulting you, if you have a friend. So Churchill on the same piece of paper wrote back, busy for the first night, cannot come. I will come for the second show if you have one. Using the same words, not using, but putting the other person in place. 2 politicians were always fighting with each other at loggerheads. And once after a very heated debate in Parliament or in the House of Commons there in England, both of them were walking fast from the opposite direction. And the passage was very narrow. And both stood like that, staring at each other, not talking. So one of them says, please make way for me. The other says, I don't make way for scoundrels. You understand with me? Okay. So, look. So I can't go from it. So I say, please make way for me. So you say, I don't make way for scoundrels. Say,
I don't make way for
loudly, very rudely.
I don't make way for scoundrels.
But I do. You get the point? Yeah. I made him a scoundrel. So this actually happened. This is how wit is used. Okay. One day a beautiful lady told George Bernard Shaw, we should get married. Let's get married. Our child will have my beauty and your brains. Bernard Shaw said, no, but what if our child has my beauty and your brains? If it is the reverse, it will be horrible because, okay. And a nearly bald man, not like me, more than me, more than you also, bald man went for a haircut. And then the barber charged the same thing which he said for anybody. So that man says, don't you think I should get a discount? There's so little hair to cut actually. The barber says, in your case we don't charge for cutting hair, we charge for finding it. That's how they do, they keep the point, okay. Like one author told the other author, I liked your book very much. Who wrote it for you? That's an insult. Who wrote it for you? This man immediately replied, oh, I'm so glad that you liked my book. Who read it for you? Okay.
Tit for tat.
Tit for tat. That's the exact word. I was about to say that now. Tit for tat. Last one I'll tell you about tit for tat. Again about Churchill. Churchill made a very bad comment, a rude comment to a lady. The lady got very angry and said, Mr. Churchill, you are such an obnoxious person that if you were my husband, I would put poison in your coffee. Right? If you were my husband, I would put poison in your coffee. Churchill didn't get angry. He smiled at the lady, bowed down and said, and madam, if you were my wife, I would gladly drink that coffee. Got the point? No? Without using any rude words, etc., they make the communication less. Okay. Last point, last 1 or 2 points. Miscommunication. Sometimes miscommunication takes place because we don't complete, or we are in such a hurry that we don't listen to everything. There's a unbelievable story of a lady telephone airline office. A lady telephoning an airline office. Says, how long does it take to fly from Bombay to New Delhi? She asked. The person on the other said, just a minute. And this lady puts the phone down. What has happened to the communication? She feels that it takes only 1 minute to go from Bombay to London. Then there's a story. Madam, listen to it and don't get agitated. It's about a lady who was taking a bath in a house, in a bathroom. Okay, she was alone and she was taking a bath. Then there was a knock on the door and she shouted from there, who's it? So the person from the other side said, a blind man. A blind man. So the lady just walked out of the bathroom. The blind man. She didn't cover herself or anything like that. She just walked out of the bathroom and went and opened the door. And she got the shock of her life. She saw a man. And blind, curtain blinds. And this man very charmingly smiled and said, where do you want me to fix up the blind? You see what happened to miscommunication? She's not finding out. Blind man means she thought somebody is blind person. So and she walked out naked without covering herself. And she had to go through, what do you say? Go through embarrassment. Same thing. She went through embarrassment. And one more, madam, you got something to write? You don't have a... Where? Okay. This will understand if I... See, this girl, a married lady, she was doing her education after marriage also. Okay. So she went to her parents' place to stay there to study and write the examinations. She was doing Bachelor of Education. She wanted to be a teacher. B.Ed. Bachelor of Education. Okay. So, B.Ed. B.Ed. And she passed off with flying colors. So she sent a telegram to her in-laws' place, father-in-law, etc. that highly successful, I'll tell you the exact word, highly successful in B.Ed. Highly successful in B.Ed. Those days we used to send telegrams. Now I think telegrams are out also. There are no more there, I think. No? Now people are using mail and SMSs, etc. So how the telegram was sent by the post office people, highly successful in, they forgot to put this dot. Okay, so there can be miscommunication if you're not careful about small things like this. Okay, what more is left? Yeah, that is okay. 5 minutes more. 5 minutes more. So last point, last 2-3 points. Don't bore people. Okay. One speaker asked in the audience member, how did you like my talk? The audience member said, it was very refreshing. The speaker was very happy. Oh, really? And the member said, absolutely. I felt like a new man when I woke up. See, if you bore people, people will go to sleep. You see? Okay. So, don't speak more than necessary. Don't exceed your time. That's one thing that a speaker should keep in mind, not to exceed. Yeah? And to be effective and have success also in life, one has to learn to give thanks and be grateful. Gratitude is important. People everywhere are hungry for praise and appreciation. When you compliment others, they are more likely to be generous in complimenting us also. One thing is there to keep in mind is that you always be grateful, but don't expect gratitude from others. everybody. Don't expect from everyone. Some people may be grateful, some people may not. There is a story of a barber again. A priest goes for a haircut, and then when he's paying, the barber says, no, you're doing God's work, I cannot take money from you. So the priest goes away. Next morning, the barber finds a dozen copies of the Bible kept in it. That man has expressed his gratitude that way. Next day, policeman comes for a haircut, cuts his hair, and again he does not take money from the policeman, says, you serve the cause, you protect people, so I can't take money from you. So next day the barber finds that a big cake is kept in front, at his gate, So that is the policeman's way of expressing gratitude. Third day a lawyer comes, okay, and again the barber refuses payment, telling him that you serve the cause of justice. And next day, what do you think he finds the barber when he comes? He finds 12 lawyers standing in line to get a free haircut. So there are people like that who will take advantage of you also. Okay. Finally, in communication, we didn't touch this part, we separate, but body language is important. Now all these points are important. Now body language is important. How you stand, how you sit, looking at people in the eye. Then voice is important. Volume, speed, pleasantness, etc. There is a formula called soften. I'll just tell the soften technique. Soften, S for smile, O for open arms, F for leaning forward, T for touch, where appropriate touch is important, E is eye contact, and last is nodding when you're talking, when you're listening to people. So follow that. Your vocal qualities we'll do next time. Just tell you how the effect, as you said, not what you say, how you say it also. G.K. Chesterton was a writer, great writer. He speaks to a fisherwoman before buying fish. And this is what he tells. And in a very pleasing, polite, endearing voice, Chesterton tells the fisherwoman, you are a noun, you are a verb, you are a preposition. And the fisherwoman is very happy, delighted. She gives him free fish and all that. Okay. Now after buying the fish, taking the fish, now he tells in a harsh tone, okay, in a very loud and harsh, you are an adjective, you are a conjunction, you are an adverb. And the lady slaps him, gets angry. Now what is the communication is same, noun, verb, etc. Then what was different was the tone of voice, the manner of speaking. First way was very endearing, polite, likable. Second was harsh and rude. So that's important. Okay, lastly it's important in communication, first impressions as a speaker, as a candidate, as an interviewee, etc. Okay. So I was to end here, end well, if possible, depending on the speech. If you're asking people to take some action, then make a call for action. Let us vote, let us clean our society, let us do this, that, etc. Okay. Or you can end your speech by the most important point that you're trying to convey, that message you repeat. Okay. And last is you can end with humor. Okay. So I'll give you a quotation here, and on a humorous note. It's a very simple, well-known thing. We come into the world crying. We come into the world crying. Let us leave it laughing. So that is the whole purpose of this. That wherever possible, okay, keeping in mind all this thing we said, let us leave the world laughing. Let us spread more laughter wherever we can spread laughter. And do it in a very polished and sophisticated manner. Okay. Right? Exact?
Right.
1 hour exact, no? Okay. Any questions? Any?
Catch the train.
Catch the train. You're going. You're staying in New Bombay, no?